Hi, I'm John Bajeni, and I've been helping customers solve their digital identity needs for years. Today, I'm going to try to get you excited about setting up a private CA and enable it for an identity-first user passwordless authentication solution. This is no joke. In a previous incarnation, I was at a Samsung trade show talking about using digital certificates for user identity when someone approached me and proceeded to tell me about all the reasons why PKI was a thing of the past. So at the time, I had no idea how to respond. So I politely nodded and tried desperately to ignore him. Of course, he was wrong. PKI is more important today than it ever was, and the problems it solves are many. I think part of what he was trying to tell me, other than choose another career, is that PKI is hard, and there's no doubt about it. If you decide to roll your own PKI, it is hard. So hard, in fact, that you either give up or worse, misconfigure it and create all sorts of headaches for your IT and your CISO. But PKI doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can be very easy to set up and configure, but only if you have the right solution. What I want to show you today is how you can take those first steps on the journey to a hosted PKI solution that is both easy to set up and maintain. So once you've got the basics configured, you're ready to tackle virtually any challenge from DevOps to SMIME and even banishing the password to ease your identity user needs. We call these first steps going from zero to hero in 6 minutes or less. So for anyone who's ever attempted to set up an on-premise CA, and I have, in no fewer than 6 days, this presentation is for you. Even if you've been able to set up a cloud CA in about 6 hours, you'll still be pleasantly surprised how much easier we have made it. So truth be told, it took me nearly 3 weeks to set up my first on-premise CA. Nearly every mistake meant wiping out my virtual machine and starting over. And then when it came time to configure the certificate profiles with all those OIDs, my vision started to blur at the long streams of decimal numbers. What I'm going to talk about today is my experience in setting up my own Saktigo private CA using Saktigo Certificate Manager. That includes the trial sign-up phase and configuring my first certificate profile. If by the end of this talk you still don't believe me, I recommend you visit Saktigo.com and try it for yourself. Even if you do believe me, I still do recommend trying it for yourself. So here's step one, signing up for the dreaded trial. But don't worry, we don't ask too much information of you, and we won't flood your inbox with constant reminders and offers like some of our competitors do. Within a few minutes of completing your trial request, you'll receive an email with a link to activate the trial. This is one of those times we'll tell you to definitely click on the link. Once you've activated your trial, the first thing we'll do is ask you if you'd like a tour of the place. While it's not necessary to take the tour, our recently redesigned user interface has made it easier to find your way around. You can certainly do it now or choose to do it later. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is to create yourself a root CA. Go on and open the toolbar by clicking the hamburger icon and navigate to the Issuers option. Now you just need to go ahead and select the option to create a new CA. As you can see, the CA provisioning wizard will walk you through the steps to select the configuration for your root. I've called my CA the passwordless root, and you'll see why later. Once the root CA has been created, you'll need to create your intermediate CA. So you can stay on the same page, click the plus icon to configure another CA. You'll go through the same setup wizard as for the root CA, but now you'll do things slightly differently. Make sure you select the root CA you just created as the parent issuer for your intermediate CA. And to keep things sane and simple, I've decided to call my intermediate CA the passwordless issuer. And this is, of course, because this is going to be the CA from which I'm going to decide to issue my endpoint certificate specifically for clients. So now you just need to save the configuration. So far, so simple, isn't it? Next, we're going to create ourselves a certificate profile, which we'll use to issue the client certificates. The next and final step to configuring our private CA environment is to create a certificate profile. Now, you can and should create as many certificate profiles as will be used to handle all the different use cases, both for device and client certificates. But for today's example, I'm only going to configure my client certificate profile. The Saktigo Certificate Manager trial account all come with predefined certificate templates, which we're going to make use of for this example deployment. We're going to name this profile the Passwordless Demo Profile and give it a meaningful description. After configuring a few more options, such as the certificate lifetime and revocation rules, we'll save the profile. Now, let's move on to the next step. This one is easy. We're done. That's right. Within just a few simple steps, someone as clumsy and historically incapable of standing up a CA in the same time it takes the telephone company to set up a new home internet service has managed to create a functioning private CA. Now, you don't have to worry about the state of your CA anymore. We take care of that. You can focus on solving your actual problems. As if going from zero to hero in 6 minutes or less wasn't fun in itself, let's see what we can do now that we have a private CA created. You've heard it once, and you will hear it often. If you're worried about dealing with passwords and you're somewhere on the path to embracing a zero trust architecture, certificate-based digital identities can both simplify and secure your approach. So what's next? Well, in a moment, I'm going to walk you through a video I recorded of an environment I've set up to issue myself a certificate identity into a Windows user certificate store without requiring the machine to be joined to a Windows domain, nor requiring myself to manually download and install the certificate. I'm going to then configure a simple IIS server for certificate-based authentication and finally authenticate to the server passwordlessly. And what's really important is that the private key for my certificate is going to be generated in the TPM of the Windows machine for added security. I hope by the end of this, you'll get a good feel for how easy this would be on your end users, IT, and help desk. Now, as my sons would say, let's go. First thing I'm going to do is install the Saktigo Security for Windows app, which is a Windows UWP app, which knows how to speak to Saktigo service that helps it enroll the identity. Once this is done, the next thing I'm going to do is authenticate to my Saktigo tenant service via my enterprise Azure AD IDP. We'll just give it a minute to catch up. As you can see in that previous screen, I don't have any certificates enrolled yet. Now, as I select my Azure AD, as I select my Saktigo tenant and it redirects me to my AD IDP, I'm going to leverage the investment that I've already made in an IAM to help bootstrap the creation of this first security credential. Now that I'm authenticated, the service will allow me to review my information before beginning the enrollment. Now, the enrollment process is designed to launch the Saktigo security app I installed earlier. Once we've made the app available in the Microsoft Store, the browser and Windows will guide users to download it and install it if it's not already there. So within a few seconds, the app will be able to generate a key pair in the TPM and generate a CSR, which it will submit to the service to have it signed by the tenant CA. So we'll just give it a moment, and there it is. The process is complete, and there's a certificate created and installed in the user store, which will show up in just a moment. And now that the certificate's been created, all that's left is to configure IIS and try our first passwordless authentication. And voila, the certificate-based identities for passwordless authentication will be complete. So let's just take a few moments and let the video go through the process. So here you can see that we've required digital certificates, and in just a moment, I'm going to log into the IIS tenant and use my certificate that we created earlier to authenticate without the use of passwords. And this is it. That's all that's required. And this is why we call it going from zero to hero. Thank you for listening. And for more information, go ahead and visit the Saktigo.com site and continue to watch some of the other presentations in this summit. Thank you.